The girl's name was Matilda Hawley. She was named after their Aunt Matilda, a scowly old woman from Baltimore. The old lady's voice was high and squeaky, and she never smiled. The girl hated having the same name as her scowly old aunt, so she insisted everyone call her Tildy. She sat on the side of her bed in a flannel nightgown. After all, it was April, and April nights in Pennsylvania could be cold. A candle burned on her nightstand. The wind picked up outside, whistling and sounding cold the way it did on a cold night, and it made the little flame on the candle flicker. Tildy was 12 years old. Her hair was an auburn color, which had been the color of Mama's before Mama's hair had started to go gray. Tildy's hair was tied into 2 long braids that fell to her hips. In her lap was a leather-bound book, and she held both hands protectively over it. The book was Mama's diary. Mama's diaries were all Tildy had left of her. Sure, there were things like Mama's jewelry, but the diaries were the closest Tildy could now come to actually hearing Mama's voice. May stepped into the doorway. She was 28, old enough to be Tildy's mother, but she was actually Tildy's sister. She had a robe tied over her nightgown. Her hair was also in long braids, and she held a candle in one hand. "Tildy," she said, "you should be getting to sleep." Tildy looked at her suddenly. She hadn't seen May step into the doorway. She hadn't intended for anyone to know she had Mama's old diary, and she knew May wouldn't be happy about it. She kept it hidden under her mattress and read it only at night when May and Heck were asleep. She decided to say nothing and hope May wouldn't notice. No such luck. May said, "What's that you have there?" Tildy tried to sound casual. "A book." "What kind of book?" "Just a book." Tildy was always reading everything she could get her hands on. She hoped May would just let the matter drop. No such luck. May said, "What's the title?" Tildy didn't want to lie, but she didn't want to tell the truth either. She tried to think as quickly as she could, but she wasn't good at being devious. May stepped into the room and held out one hand. "Give it here." Tildy gave a sigh of defeat and handed the book over. May gave it a glance and said, "This is one of Mama's old diaries. She said once that it starts out before she married Papa and carries past their wedding." May gave her sister a look of disbelief. "Have you been reading this? You know Mama didn't want us reading her diaries. They were to be kept upstairs in the attic." Tildy nodded. "I went upstairs to get it." "You've been reading it?" Tildy nodded again. "The one before it, too." May's mouth fell open. "Tildy, why?"